Hi everyone, welcome to Discover SETsquared. My name is Marty Reid. I took over as director of the programme just at the start of the year, and it's been a great experience so far, starting to get to know our ventures, starting to get to know the amazing technologies and businesses they're building, and also starting to get really to know how we can best help them on their journey as they grow and scale. And I think that's why this session is always really exciting, because it's a chance for us to share, meet new exciting ventures, and to see if we'd be a great fit for you as well. So I'm going to talk for a little bit, give you an overview of the programme, an overview of philosophy, and how we deliver support. And then we're going to hear from one of our entrepreneurs in residence on the programme who really provide a great core of help to the ventures. And then finally, one of the founders themselves, so you can hear a bit of their direct story. If questions pop up into your head as you go, please drop them into the chat. Our team are on, they'll be gathering them up for a Q&A at the end. So there's the critical point where I've got to press the right buttons to share a couple of slides to talk you through the SETsquared programme. So for some context, we are all about growing global tech businesses out of Bristol. The team are based in Bristol, and that's our home, but ventures are able to apply from anywhere. And it really is about global reach and impact for those companies that we're working with. We're part of the University of Bristol family, and that's where our origins lie. We've got great reach back into expertise in terms of research, and particularly in exciting emerging technology areas. But crucially, our programme is by business for business. We're not an academic-led programme. It is about supporting businesses to grow. And more than half of the ventures on the programme come from the outside world, not from the university itself. SETsquared Bristol is also part of a wider network. So while we operate as an independent centre, an independent programme, we're part of a network of other incubators and business support organisations from different universities from the west of the UK and Cardiff all the way down to Surrey. We share best practice, we share engagement, but crucially, I guess, for ventures on the programme, it gives access to a network that is far broader and bigger than just our own, including connections with industry and funding and investment. And finally, our programme's home is Engine Shed, right in the centre of Bristol next to the train station. Our team are based out of there. We run a lot of training, workshops and events out of there, alongside a great community of other businesses, industry, academics. But you don't need to be based in the centre to join the programme, and we'll talk about that as we go through. So to set a broad bit of context, really I'd like to say the programme is all about impact, and impact for the ventures on it, and impact for broader economy and society. We've been running for over 10 years, and in that time, companies have raised over 600 million in funding and investment who have been supported by us. In the last 3 years alone, we've worked with 125 ventures who've raised almost 200 million. So while there's a long-standing experience, we're still growing and making impacts now. And I guess excitingly for me, that's also translating into revenue generation and the creation of jobs too. But also, we're a very collaborative programme organisation. Aside from just the university, we work with sector-focused and regional tech organisations like the Quantum Tech Enterprise Centre, like FinTech West, and also a really wide range of community organisations. We've just highlighted a couple here on the slide, like Babasa, who are amazing youth empowerment organisation in Bristol, who work with us on our diversity and inclusion programmes, and also to make sure that in the work we do, we aren't just supporting companies to grow and take off, we're also working with the local community as well. So I guess if there's something to take away for this, of the context of the programme, is that we have a community and culture that's evolved from a programme that's grown in Bristol and the city region, really focused on impact, both economic and societal, but also that we're operating at scale. And the ventures that come through, previous and current, are really looking to make an impact at a global level, alongside anyone else from anywhere else in the UK or far wider. And I think the exciting thing is that it really is about our members. So all of those big numbers, the big shiny numbers, if you really drill into it, they all just come back to the success of companies, the success of founders and their teams that have gone through the program and gone on to grow. So just a little selection of here to give an idea of the background, the variety of some of those companies. We've got teams who are focused on 5G, telecommunications, semiconductors, fintech, health tech, platforms for charitable giving, advanced engineering. So a really broad church of technologies, from life sciences to robotics and through. And through each of those is a really great team of founders. And I just point on that because if you really drill down into it, at the end of the day, what we do is we are here to help founders succeed. For all the kind of numbers, the program, the structure that I'm going to talk through in a sec, that's what we're here to do at the heart of it. And because of that, our program is really designed around founders themselves. We are not a fixed program, like you come in looking like this on day one and you come out in 12 weeks later expecting to look like that. With the breadth of technology companies, all of you are really different. You're all trying to achieve and grow different things. You've got slightly different backgrounds. So how our program has evolved is to effectively be bespoke and matched to each founder's journey where they are at each point in their development. Because none of your journeys are the same. And we support large and small organizations in parallel. And we'll explain a little bit about how we manage that going as I go through this talk. Secondly, the program is based on tech, but as I said in those examples, it's a very broad definition of tech, as long as there is ambition in its heart. And something we're really proud of is that the program is for everyone. Now, I'm sure every program, all the big industries will have diversity and inclusion and policies kind of splashed across their pages, but I've genuinely never joined an organization who has it embedded to such a degree. Year on year, over a decade of experience of the program, we have run research with external organizations to deliver interventions that are based on evidence to make sure that the program is accessible for everyone, and then that anyone, irrespective of background, is successful or can be successful on the program once they've joined. A couple of specific examples. We have a breakthrough bursary where our alumni companies, those that have gone on to bigger and better things, continue to give back into the program to allow us to offer highly subsidized membership to founders of Black and minoritized ethnic backgrounds. And we deliver our Enterprising Women program in partnership with NatWest. That's a pre-incubator, effectively taking the quality and the impact from the main program, but delivering it at an earlier stage with women founders who are more in an idea stage or might have a side hustle business running alongside other commitments, so they can explore and understand the value of that until the point they may be ready for the main SETsquared program. And from a number of years ago, where our representation in the program was probably similar to that of the wider tech sector, which is pretty poor, today, as of this year in our member survey, 45% of the 80 companies on the program are led by women, and 24% are led by people from Black or minoritized ethnic backgrounds. And we're going to keep working on that as we go, because quite frankly, it's a more exciting, richer and higher potential program for it. And finally, from the numbers, from the impact, we're focused on brilliance. So just continually evolving to make sure that it is effective for what founders need. So looking at what the program is itself, what we actually deliver, that I'd walk through how we structure it and how we manage to blend specific interventions in a really bespoke way. So we're organized around 5 themes or areas that we provide support to. They are product, organization, funding, and market, and the founder themselves. And I'll talk about those in a little sec. And we deliver them in with three methods of support. So product from IP to product strategy development, your organization from how you form a board to who you recruit to your structuring of your accounting and finance, funding of what's your funding strategy to investment readiness process to make sure when you meet investors, you're going to get the best value possible for your venture, through to market of understanding, growing your market, being ready, and being ready to deliver marketing and find customers. But possibly most important of all, right in the middle there, the founder themselves. So you and your personal development as you go on a journey that I'm pretty sure many of your friends will think is a crazy thing to be doing. So everything from how you act, what your motivations are, what your values are, through to training and support for your mental health and resilience. And then based on those topics, we have 3 layers effectively of support available that we deliver. First, and the arms around the founder community, I guess, is the community and network. So you're not joining a program just to be taught on your own. It's joining a community with peer-to-peer support, which we encourage, and we engage people across a whole range of Connect events, social networks, networking events, some really broad, some focused on some sectors, and then a few key bigger showcases through the year to make sure that the outside world is aware of what you and your company are doing. As a really neat case study, in June, our flagship Texpo event is usually attended by over 200 investors, industry people looking to understand what the next best thing in technology is coming through. We have a really broad network of mentors from all kinds of backgrounds, particularly industries that you might be looking to apply or to find access to market in. And finally, because of the scale of the program, we're able to offer discounts and a wide range of useful business tools that you'll probably need. You know, the most obvious ones being things like heavily discounted HubSpot and a whole heap of Amazon Web Service credits for your use. Then within that community and network, we deliver specific training and workshops focused around those theme areas, which are based on what our experience are the challenges that founders of companies have, so product, organization, etc. On average, there's around 50 through the year. So one week it might be on finance, one week it might be on IP law, or building a marketing campaign, or building a board. They're delivered partly by our own team of experts, but heavily supported by a wider network of specialists that we bring in to deliver that training. And the crucial point here is that you select the ones that you need for your business at your stage of development. So all of us, when we've been right in the middle of a venture, one week you might not have space for a workshop, and that's fine. One week you might have an urgent need for a marketing plan, and you can focus on that. But as I said, it's about what is right for you, your founding team, at your stage of your development. And our team are there to guide you to what you need and what's available at any point in time. And then finally, at the heart of it is the individual coaching for the founding team. So this is primarily delivered by our 4 amazing entrepreneurs in residence. You'll be hearing from Annalisa just after me. And they are pretty much the beating heart of the program. They're from different backgrounds, but all of them have started ventures, scaled them, exited, supported, are not execs of dozens and dozens of startups and scale-ups of different shapes and sizes. They've seen the successes, they've seen plenty of failures on the way, and they are there to give you the guidance and the coaching that you need at your stage of your journey. They're then supported by a wider pool of mentors who typically are people from an industry or capability area that is right at the heart of what you're trying to achieve. Random case study, if you're in the advanced engineering sector, we might have someone from a large industrial who can guide you on finding that route to market and adjusting and working on your business plan. We then have advisors in residence who are about more specific technical skills, would you say? So law, accounting, finance, IP, and they offer drop-in sessions that are bookable to give pro bono advice into the program and to you as founders at any point in time. And then finally, we have a really big network who support our business review panels, which are planned interventions where you will prepare your business strategy and specific strategic questions, and we'll pull together a review panel of industry, potentially academic, potentially financial, and our entrepreneurs and residents to guide your strategy forward. Think of it as having a board of non-exec directors to guide you along before you would be able to afford or be ready for that to guide you in the right direction. And when you put all of that together in the round, that's our incubation model. As I said, there's a wealth there available from the coaching to the training to the network. It is all there for you to take advantage of, but with our team's guidance, the program is all about you getting and accessing the parts that are right for you at any specific point in time to make sure they're contributing to your success. So when that boils down into what our services are and what we deliver, what does it cost? Our membership is £200 a month. If you are an earlier stage startup right at the beginning of the journey, there is discounts available. And also, as I mentioned, we have a number of specific support discounts options available to support diversity in the program. We can answer specifics on that, or if you'd like to get in touch separately to ask or check what we have available, then please do so. So that includes everything that I've just talked through, all in one, but also you'll have access to the engine shed facility and meeting rooms, from small meeting rooms to a boardroom that we have on site in Bristol as part of the cost. If you did want to have a more permanent base for your team within the engine shed building, and I'll show some shiny pictures in a sec, we do have a range of options available for an additional cost, either cheap as chips co-working in our open co-working space on a desk by desk basis, through small to large offices. If you are from a lab-based business, we also have access to commercial labs and benches with our partner at the Quantum Tech Innovation Centre, which is right in the centre of Bristol by the cathedral. And then finally, we've had a lot of ventures, especially new ones, saying they don't really know if they need desks or not because they've been founded in the last 2 years. So we're offering a free month to test and try out the co-working to help teams get together in Engine Shed as they go. Give you a bit of a flavour of what that looks like. Here's some nice shots, all from Engine Shed itself. The business lounge is what I mentioned earlier, is that top right picture. I said that is open to industry, academics, entrepreneurs, casual open working that any membership you will have access to and able to use for bringing people together. And then some of the dedicated spaces that we have. And the floor on the left is actually above the open lounge that you can see with our individual office units. So I guess a final point is, are you ready for the program? We do have some entry criteria, and it maybe help you think through if you're not sure yet. So firstly, you must have tech at the core of your business. As I said, this could be life sciences through to data science, but you must be tech driven, including development of technology, and majority tend to be product oriented, but there's a lot of different flavors of that. You should be an established business. The core program isn't quite right for very early idea stage. For sure, some businesses are less mature than others, and there's a range in there. So please do engage and ask. But really, we are looking for incorporated businesses to join the program. Crucially, though, I think a core thing, all of the ventures share, it's about ambition and an idea that you believe and expect will be able to scale for large scale impact. Now, that could be financial, it could be social, it could be just impact in people's lives, but it is critical that your core venture idea is about scaling for really big impact. And even if it's an early stage, you don't need to have lots of funding or finance lined up, but we'd expect you to have an understanding of what are the likely financial commitments or needs of your business, what funding things do you think you like, so we can get off on a good point, and then a big part of our role is helping you go from there. And then I guess balancing that is people who don't think they already have all the answers. You know, we want to make sure that we can add value to you. So a willingness to engage, a willingness to learn, so you get the most out of actually participating and joining the program. And finally, you don't necessarily need to be moving into Engine Shed and having a physical home, but we'd love ventures who want to be part of a community, want to connect up with others, and want to find a home amongst their peers and supporters, large and small. And here is our Smiley team. I won't go through and name them all, lots of them on the call today, and I'll be answering your questions. But really, as I said, we are here to help founders succeed more than anything else. On that, for a bit more of I guess, a personal insight and some stories of being in and delivering in the program, I'm going to stop sharing and click the right button and hand over to one of our entrepreneurs in residence, Annalisa.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Thumbs up from the team. Brilliant. I decided to come, well, I've been here all day because Thursday is my entrepreneur in residence day. So I've been here in Engine Shed, and yeah, this isn't a fake background. There are real people moving around there. And this is the lounge that Marty was talking about earlier, and where I've been having my calls today. Feel free to put your cameras on if you'd like to. This is going to be quite informal for the next few minutes before I hand over to Helen. I just thought, given that this is a Discover SETsquared event, it might be quite nice to tell you how I discovered SETsquared, because this happened over the course of the last 2 years. So my discovery of SETsquared happened entirely during lockdown. In fact, many of the members of the team I just met for the first time over the last few months. Steve Edwards, who really introduced me to the team, I met for coffee today for the first time, and you know, we've worked together now over 2 years. So it is amazing, I think, how we all managed to stay connected despite everything that went on. But when I first had an inkling that I might like to move from London to Bristol, in London, I was very happy. I've got family in London, children at school, working with my business partner in London, advising startups, supporting a number of different accelerators in London, Techstars, their Future of Finance program in London, the Accenture Innovation program in London, Bethnal Green Ventures, where I'm a mentor and strategic advisor. Lots of work going on in London, but of course, like many, thought that this was a great opportunity in 2020 for a life change, and a bit of family down in the West. Bristol seemed like the obvious place to go. I thought, well, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be able to keep my business going with my business partner, but I know I'm going to want to be connected into a tech ecosystem in Bristol, just as I have been in London. Where do I go? And I knew nothing about anything that was happening in Bristol, really. But I found a report by TechNation 2020 report, and it was glowing in its praise of this place called SETsquared. But what I liked about it the most was it wasn't TechNation's opinion. They had covered some case studies from some of the TechNation businesses and founders that had been involved here in SETsquared. So one of them was Thomas Eyre from Lockbox. Another was Tom Carter from Ultraleap. They were both showcasing very complimentary things. I thought, well, I best check this out because, you know, who knows who told them to say that. So I got in touch with Tom Eyre, and I don't know if you know Tom. If you're in Bristol, you probably met him at some point. He's a larger than life character, and he was very clear about the fact that SETsquared had helped him get Lockbox off the ground. And not only that, it helped get Lockbox into scaling mode and starting to get over into the US. I offered my services to Tom as a mentor, and I thought, well, I best show him that I can be useful, with the hope that he might make an intro, and he did. So Tom made an intro to the team at SETsquared, and I think the first person I met was Paul Forster. And again, that's a good name for me to mention, because I think that will be one of the first people that you meet when you decide that you're interested in coming to SETsquared. So Paul is an incredibly welcoming chap. He's all about building communities. He's all about making connections. He put me through my paces, no doubt about it. He definitely wanted to know what business I had, trying to offer my business advice services to his SETsquared founders, but he was very welcoming. And the first thing he did was offer me the opportunity to be a panelist. Now, a panelist, I think we've got almost 600 panelists on the books. These are people from across the business ecosystem here in the Southwest: lawyers, corporate finance advisors, scale-up advisors, founders who've been there, done that, marketing experts, and they're on the books. They've been, again, put through the paces of Paul, invited in, and then invited to run these business review panels, which as a member of SETsquared, you get your first panel after about 6 months when you're ready to open your business to that sort of external scrutiny. And I was able to be a panelist. I tried hard, I did a good job, worked hard for the founders on that panel, was offered an opportunity to chair a panel, and it became clear to me that I was being tested here for a bigger job. And I went through a number of different initiation ceremonies and eventually was offered the role of entrepreneur in residence. But I love the fact that the way that they tested me on the way in was with the founders, was with the teams. They wanted to hear how I was with founders and whether founders found me useful. That's always worked well for me, just to focus on the founders in that way. From there, I was able to start to meet some of the other players here in SETsquared, so other entrepreneurs in residence, and particularly Rick Chapman, who's the sort of long-standing entrepreneur in residence. Lots of war stories, fascinating chap, does a lot of lecturing at various universities, as well as chairing a number of different commercial businesses in the technology space. And Rick's been a fantastic mentor to me over the last few months, and anyone who has him as their entrepreneur in residence will be really lucky. I've also met 2 other entrepreneurs in residence now. There are 4 of us here at SETsquared, all of us very different. So Stuart Noakes, who runs a big community of experts actually out in Portugal, but also well connected into the Southwest. He has really lived the scaling story as a business owner. And Olivia Champion, Dr. Champion, what a name. How can you compete with that? Dr. Champion is the other entrepreneur in residence, and she's got a lot of experience in commercializing biological research. I think I've got that right. Number of businesses around using biology to help us prevent disease, etc., and better use proteins, all sorts of very clever things that Dr. Champion does. From starting to work with the entrepreneurs in residence, I began to be made aware of how much there was to offer here at SETsquared. So I started to attend a number of training sessions. So there's some core training. Business Quick Start is the first one that you would do, which really is a whistle-stop tour of how to establish and begin to prepare for scaling a great business idea. That comprises aspects of investor readiness, messaging, core financial skills, and the touches on how to build your board. But on that point of how to build your board, I think that's another thing to say. Alongside the core training that we have here at SETsquared, we have connections out into the ecosystem for experts to take us one step further. So I've been I sort of had the pleasure of going to Nick Sturge's Build Your First Board a training session, which would be one I would really encourage you sign up to. Nick obviously set up SETsquared here many years ago, and has received an MBE for his efforts that are well deserved. I think that focus on governance really does set SETsquared apart. It sounds a little bit boring, but it's not. It's about helping you to keep control of your business and to keep the value inside your business. And as I said, I've been on a number of different accelerator programs, but none with the incubator feel of creating a space where you can build the value in your business over time. So I've learned a tremendous amount from all those people that I've sort of met and worked with at SETsquared so far. Others coming in from outside, like Babassa that was mentioned earlier, helping us bring more founders of colour into the SETsquared community. And I just really wanted to just one of my final points really echoes something that Marty said, which is about building inclusion and diversity into SETsquared, sort of into the core program. I went to a presentation that SETsquared ran through the Bristol Tech Festival, where they had asked Antonia Forster. Now, Antonia is the Senior XR Technical Specialist at Unity. You may have heard her speak. She has a fantastic presentation that she did for us here called Closing the Gender Gap in Tech. But the thing that she said that really stuck with me was this idea of creating a space where everyone can feel at home. And I do think that that is what has happened here in Engine Shed with SETsquared. They have created a space where everyone can feel at home. If I look at, I've got 15 businesses that I work with here at SETsquared, such an array of founders. Bizarrely, of all the people I've chosen to talk about today, their names all begin with J, but other than that, there is a great variety in amongst them. So Jenny comes from a legal background. She's decided to set up a femtech business, which has the USP being that they have biomedical engineering at the heart of everything that they do. So it's been a tremendous jump from Jenny from the world of law into now securing £600,000 of funding to get the business going, half of that from Innovate UK. Julian, he's the chief exec of Voltric. He comes from a marketing background. I met Julian at the Foundry in Wales. He's come now to SETsquared to help build his presence here in Bristol and benefit from university connections and recruitment here in Bristol, alongside the work that he's doing in Cardiff. That Voltric's an electric vehicle business. Joyanne from Include. Joyanne is all about increasing representation in marketing assets. She's selling direct into marketing agencies. James New Nano, I said it was all J's. James New Nano, he's actually an alumni of SETsquared, but I very much stay connected to him as his entrepreneur in residence. Here's this one, atomic force microscopy, and the probes that he has developed to work in that space. His business is chaired by Rick, an entrepreneur in residence here. So you can see just a tremendous variety of founders that are coming in to create a tremendous variety of startups. And I think that's certainly what makes my work most interesting. I think if you sign up to a membership, but what you really get is membership to an ecosystem and all of those connections that come from that. I think with that in mind, I've mentioned there, connect with me on LinkedIn. I won't take more time now, but really happy to speak to any of you directly. Just get in touch with me. And I'm excited to hear from Helen though. So I'm going to hand over now to Helen Lloyd, co-founder of Dext. I'm sure she'll give us a very honest appraisal of her own experience here. Helen, over to you.
Thanks so much, Annalisa. It was great to hear from you. Yeah, hi everyone. It's nice to meet you. As mentioned, my name is Helen Lloyd. I'm co-founder of, when we joined SETsquared, we were called Xavier Analytics. We've since been acquired and we're now called Dext Precision with Xavier. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a background on how we went through that journey with SETsquared and what it meant and how we really kind of managed to have a tremendous success story. So we joined SETsquared in, I think it was just at the very end of 2017, beginning of 2018. We first got connected with SETsquared when we took part in a startup weekend where you had to build a startup within 24 hours. We won first prize, and our first prize was a session with Rick Chapman. And Rick Chapman, in his infinite wisdom, turned around and went, "Great business, congratulations for winning. Are you sure you're the right people to do it?" And he was absolutely right. That wasn't Xavier. So it was a really kind of good introduction into what SETsquared, like what a true entrepreneur in residence could provide, which was honest advice. And so when we started Xavier Analytics, we came back again and we said, "Hi, we'd love to join SETsquared and get a bit more of that advice." The first thing that happened was that the director at the time, Monica, she said two things. She said, "You can join, but you need to achieve one of two things. She said, you either get funding, we'd applied for an Innovate UK grant at the time, and she said, or you drop all the consulting work that you're doing and focus on this business that you're doing full time. And that's a real sign of kind of, you really need to have someone to hold you accountable. That's what really like, drives you to these things. And in the end, we achieved both. We brought in 380K of Innovate UK funding, and we also dropped all of our consulting to focus on Xavier full time. And it's been I think back on our time at SETsquared very fondly. And when Annalisa talks about making a home, it really did feel like it. You know, we spent a lot of time at the end. Before we were acquired, there were 7 of us in the team, and we all crammed into the booth, the one to the right of the reception at the engine shed, and we'd all squeeze in there and we'd debate and talk with our laptops, and it'd get like a little bit stuffy, but you know, the energy was really important. And we spent a lot of time talking with our fellow co-founders. You know, your businesses are all very different. You know, like Annalisa mentioned, some people are in biotech, some people are in you know, the actuation systems and stuff like that. We were a fintech company. So we take financial data and we detect errors in it and provide information on the health of financial data. But actually, there was much more that we had in common with all of these other founders than what held us apart. So those conversations that you're having with people, even in the like the board meetings that you have, or the just in the corridor making coffee, you know, like, how are you doing? Oh, I've had to, you know, submit this, or what are you doing about this? And we'd all share ideas, and also sometimes just go watch episodes of Silicon Valley in the boardroom with a pizza after hours, and you know, just shoot the breeze. And it can be a really lonely time being a founder. You know, you're going through a lot of stuff, like not very many people in your family, like my family didn't understand. My dad would be like, why can't you just go get a job with a pension? What are you going to do? How are you going to afford your mortgage if it all goes wrong? But when you talk to other founders, you can kind of keep that passion going. You don't let it grind you down so much. The Female Founders Forum as well that Paul Forster runs was a real haven for me, occasionally a bit like group therapy, but really important to have that community around you when you're doing something that's as crazy as running a business. So obviously Precision is quite a big success story. We were approached for acquisition in March 2020 by a company called Receipt Bank. The first person I called was Paul, and the second person I called was our EIR Grev. And we spent a lot of time kind of on the phone, on Zoom over the next 3 months, going through that acquisition, desperately kind of going like, oh my God, what are we doing? And Grab would be like, you're dancing around your handbags, see where it goes. And just really like helping us out. There are a few things that SETsquared did that I am forever grateful for preparing us for in that situation. So one of the first questions from our EIR was, what's your number? And we were like, what's our number? Well, we've just started. Like, how would we know a number? And I have other co-founders, and he said, no, you need to have a number, you need to agree it with you. And when somebody asks you, you tell them what that number is. You don't go to each other and suddenly start talking about it. Have your number. And that's the number that we went with when we started to get acquired. And it was so good to have that down. The other thing was get all your paperwork in order. I will say that we weren't as good at holding to that one, and it was a painful experience. So get all your paperwork in order. Those drop-in sessions that you can have with the lawyers, with other people, those professionals, those are really, really important for that, you know, because a lawyer is very expensive. But if you can go speak to one for half an hour for free, oh my God, do it immediately. Just do it anyway, even if you don't know what you're going to talk about, because they'll ask you questions and suddenly you'll realize there's 10, 20, 30 things that you need to go sort out. The other thing was those business review panels. They're also keeping you really accountable, people asking quite searching questions. Those are really, really good training. I now frequently address the board at my acquirer, Dext, and you know, I have to have these decks ready, and I have to have my numbers, and I have to have my answers. And the business review panels are really, really good training for that. They can be a little bit daunting, that people are going to ask you questions that, you know, maybe you didn't even want to ask yourself. but that's the point. Your EIR will help you prepare for them, and a really, really important part of the experience. Yeah, and so we eventually kind of went through this acquisition process. We spent a lot of time with Grev. The final piece of advice that Grev gave me, which I will give you now, was be happy with what you walk away with on day one. And it's quite an obscure thing to say, but I have held that with me ever since. I am forever grateful to Grev for saying that to us, because you get caught up in the process. It's very exciting, it's very strange, it's very new, it's very scary. He was like, no, be happy with what you walk away with on day one, and you'll be happy with your decision forever. Yeah, while that may not apply to you now, you will remember it in future, hopefully. And I am aware that we probably want to leave a little bit of time for questions. So thank you so much.
Oh, thanks, Helen. I think it's always great. Me waffling on is one thing, but actually hearing from someone who's been through the program and experienced it is always so much more valuable for people. So yeah, I think now we are going to have a chance for questions from anybody. So if you've been sitting on something, you're not sent it in yet, please do drop it into the chat or over to the team. I think by magic, a few of us are going to appear on camera. Welcome to Jack, our incubation manager, who keeps the program ticking along and working.
Just about. Hi, everyone. Yeah, as Martin mentioned, if you have any questions, please do put them in the chat. Otherwise, I'll start picking on panelists to be interesting. Helen, I do always enjoy the one thing I hear in so many people's stories that I appreciate in yours is, this is the best piece of advice. We didn't follow that. It's always part of the learning journey. It's good to share those war stories, but no, thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. I do get your paperwork in order, though. Absolutely. Company's house cannot be neglected. They will come find you afterwards.
Touching there on parts of the investor readiness process as well, aren't we? Where we have a tried and tested set of steps that you need to go through in order to not to sort of allow doors to be open or introductions to be made, but that keep you in control of your business, that keep you and your business safe, keep the value of your business well protected. So I do think that that's really important, because that process has been developed by all the entrepreneurs here who've been through this process so many times before and have made all of those mistakes about paperwork and the rest of it.
Annalisa, I don't know if you wanted to give, because there is a question come in. So Joseph said, how do you go about the first step, turning an idea into a group of people wanting to incorporate a business? Who's brave enough to put their hand up to that one?
How did you do it, Helen?
So yeah, I would say that the group of people is the most important part of that. Possibly, I would say more than the idea itself, because the idea changes. You can't be so precious about an idea, but the team that you work with will make or break what you build. We were a small business, like a consultancy that built early stage web apps for companies. So they would come to us with an idea and we would start building it for them. We would flesh it out and say, well, what do you need it to do? Who is your intended audience? And we would design and build it. But we were already operating as a fairly tight ship by the time we started to build our own business. And we turned to each other and said, oh, we want to do our own one now. We'd built other people's, we wanted to do our own one. And it was a conversation that we had with our accountant when we told them that we were going to do something stupid like build our own business. Just do talk to your accountant if you're going to do that. Who said, I have an idea. And we worked with him, who was my co-founder, John Gaunt, with the small consultancy that we were operating as. And like I said, the idea has changed so much. We started as a forecasting tool because John wanted to build a spreadsheet into an app. And the forecasting tool wasn't working properly. So we said, well, why isn't it working? what are you doing that makes your spreadsheet work that ours isn't? And it was financial errors that were causing it. And so the little brain that we built to detect those financial errors is what we eventually turned into our entire business. And it was because of the team that we had. So
did some of those changes come from some of your time with your EIRs as well?
Yes, yeah. So the EIR would say kind of, you've built this. I think we had Pete and then we had Grev. So you've built this. How is it supposed to? How do you scale it? Was the biggest question. So that was, we had to change it from a single tool into a platform which could handle like multiple clients and stuff like that. So you can never be too precious about where you start. It's about where you end up afterwards, I think.
Yeah, that really fits for me, this idea that you do a bit of storming and norming as a team, as a group of people, one way or another. It sort of almost doesn't matter how you get to that. And then once you've got that idea, certainly we'll be putting you through the paces, testing that idea through sort of pitch structures, making sure that we can see a very clear, rational story emerging between the problem that you're looking to solve, your mission as a business, the barriers that exist in the world that have stopped this problem, this thing being solved before, and therefore the features of your solution and the commercial benefits of your solution and the scalability of your solution. So we can test that all through. But I really like this idea that beforehand you've actually stormed and normed with a group of people, ready to work together.
I guess just on some specifics on if people are on the call, right at the end, I'm going to show a quick slide on a specific event that we run for those who are at the idea stage. So if you've gone through this, you think it's all great, but you're just not quite sure if you're quite ready to get going yet. If it's more initial idea, we run a session called Idea to Pitch, which is all about bringing a group of founders together with entrepreneurs and residents to take those first steps and explore where it might go. And also with a lot of our partners, particularly TechSpark and around the Bristol region, there are other events and opportunities to help flesh out that idea. So I'll show one specifically at the end so you can get the name of it, and we can maybe share some other details out after.
Excellent. Thanks, Marty. There is another question that's come in from Luke, just saying, how common are small teams versus individuals as founders within SETsquared? There is a follow-up question as well. I think I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head. I don't know if any of us would without doing a bit of digging. But we get quite a broad split. I think over the past 2 years, we've seen businesses at a slightly earlier level of maturity joining the program more often. And that affects what the team size looks like. I think there's also, in terms of, we are ultimately there to assist you scale. So we have plenty of solo founders. We have a lot of 2-3 person co-founding teams. We do have businesses that join us that have gone through, potentially gone through seed or working up to Series A. They've already got a core team in place, and they are growing, and we're supporting that growth. So I would honestly say it's pretty evenly split. I think that is what works really well in terms of a community and network aspect. Helen mentioned it can be quite a lonely journey sometimes, and particularly for solo founders or first-time founders in small teams. That ability to work with others and communicate and have that community feel is really important. The follow-up question as to the pros and cons of each, I think that was very expansive. I think we could probably spend an hour easily on that alone. I think the honest answer I would have to that, and again, maybe somebody on the panel would like to expand, but I would say it's really about understanding what's right for you and the business itself. I don't think it's necessarily a case of drawing up a pros and cons sheet for each and picking one. I think you'll understand, whether it's you that should be leading the vision, whether you think you need co-founders to complement in areas that you may not be as strong in. It's not a necessity to have a dozen people working with you from day one. There's nothing wrong with working solo. At the same time, if you find lots of co-founders and everyone brings strengths and experience to the table, that's a fantastic way of doing it as well. So again, I think the question for me is more around, yeah, understanding what's right for you. Annalisa, I saw you unmuted. I don't know if you had anything on there.
Yeah, I'm unmuting because I'm thinking I do really just go with Helen's point there, that it's a terribly lonely game on your own. And I think that investors are looking for teams, for those core skills that are going to help, core skills and personalities that are going to help scale a business. I think SETsquared as a community could be a great place to meet some of those. So, idea to pitch, you never know, turn up to that. You might hear another person with a very similar idea, meet them on the day, decide to join forces. That's exactly the kind of thing you could be doing here in the ecosystem to meet people. One thing I'd really say that echoes Jack's point there is about a lot of the businesses that are here may have a core founding team, but they are just preparing to think about scale. So they're just starting to build their board, or they're just starting to recruit. And I think that that's a real sweet spot for SETsquared, because we have all of that experience around how to build brilliant boards. We've got a brilliant collection of mentors in the community who could be candidates for your board, quite frankly, but also brilliant channels into the recruitment markets to start to find talent locally. I think that's a real sweet spot. But yeah, the pitch event and any of the Connect events, I think, a great way to meet other local tech experts.
Thanks, Annalisa. There's a question from Carlin, just to summarise, around effectively the businesses they have a business plan and a concept ready, and is that too early stage to engage with SETsquared? I think the honest answer is it's never too early to engage. I think, even if we have a conversation, we can provide advice, direction, even if you don't join the program. It may be a case of we're right for each other at a slightly later stage, or it might turn out that depending on the business and the sector and a million other factors, it might be the right time as well. So I think in terms of pure engagement, please never hesitate to get in touch, to talk to us, to understand where that fit is. What that fit looks like is obviously very difficult to go into great detail at the moment without knowing more. But I think, yeah, we don't necessarily only provide benefit for those that join us from day one. We look to support the community. We look to support businesses and founders at whatever stage in however way we can do that. So whether or not it's joining the cohort, there's plenty more we can do to support around that. So ultimately, just get in touch, I think, is how I'd summarize that.
Although careful what you may end up as entrepreneur in residence. They have a very good way of finding things for you to do to make you productive here.
But there is a final question from Beth saying, I've been told it's hard to get investment without co-founders. Is that true? I don't know if anybody on the panel has any thoughts on that.
I mean, I would lead off to say it does depend on what you're looking for investment for. If you are looking to scale a business, I think that you do really well for your own joy, mental health, and speed. An ability to accelerate. I would be very much encouraging you to be looking for some co-founders, or at least directors. So I do have a number of businesses within my portfolio who are single founders, but have recently promoted members of their team to director status, company director status, and that those people then come into a board. They've established a proper board. So you don't have to have a co-founder, but I would really be encouraging you to be looking out for people with director potential, and also in advance of that, starting to look for an advisory panel, and then maybe even, I don't think it's ever too soon to be establishing a board. I think it's a very productive thing to be doing, and something that SETsquared encourage and are very supportive of.
Excellent. Well, thank you to everyone on the panel, and thanks to everyone that sent in their questions. As mentioned, feel free to get in touch if you want to know anything else. We're always, any of us are happy to pick up afterwards as well. And I'll hand back over to Marty.
Great. As promised, I had a bit of a cue for our idea to pitch event, but just say thank you all for joining. Particularly if you're living anywhere near where I am, the temptation of the weather outside must have been quite hard to overcome. So I hope you're going on from here to maybe enjoy a bit of sunshine. But to say, yeah, if you've gone through that and you're unsure, as Jack said, get in touch. You know, the actual application process involves, if we take forward an interview, involves a session with one of the entrepreneurs in residence. And the number of ventures have fed back to say that gave them good value direction. It will help steer you, if you're not quite ready for the program, to valuable support that is ready, whether it's from one of our partner organizations or wider in the ecosystem. But one specific opportunity you might want to explore is the Idea to Pitch event. It's fun, it is engaging, and it really helps to flesh out an idea into a business proposition. So you can find the details on our site, and please do apply. But yeah, if you are excited, interested, reach out or just get on the site and do the application, and we'll take it from there with you. So on that, yeah, if there's any other questions that we haven't answered, come in, get in touch. And otherwise, yeah, bristol@SETsquared.co.uk, the team have put it on, and the link to the application process is in the chat now. And otherwise, just, yeah, thanks so much for joining us on such a sunny afternoon, and we hope to hear from lots of you soon.